Imagine a cultural event so incredibly massive, the sheer logistics of it could literally break the music industry. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're deconstructing the ultimate pop culture what-if scenario. We're looking at a fascinating piece of source material that imagines a cultural crossover so huge, it absolutely forces us to rethink how we view global representation. Get ready, because we are breaking down a concept that bridges music, hypothetical history, and international diplomacy.
Okay, let's dive into this. The source text we're looking at outlines a highly ambitious blueprint. It pitches a documentary-style video exploring how the speculative superstar collaboration came together. That single, packed sentence completely sets the stage for a musical alliance of unprecedented scale. It gives us the format, establishes a really serious analytical tone, and right off the bat tells us we're dealing with a project that demands complex behind-the-scenes coordination.
So, to be clear, we are operating entirely in the realm of a speculative collaboration. We aren't looking back at a track that just dropped on Spotify and charted on the radio. No, this is a massive thought experiment. It's a hypothetical union explored strictly as a what-if scenario. You might be wondering why even do this? Well, because speculative scenarios like this are incredibly useful for analyzing pop culture. They let us reverse engineer the mechanics of a global event to understand exactly what it would take to pull it off. It's a wild exercise in cultural imagination, pushing the boundaries of what the modern music industry could theoretically achieve if, all the stars perfectly aligned.
Now, let's look at Section 1, the ultimate global trio. The sheer magnitude of combining these three specific titans is just staggering. First, you have The Weeknd, an absolutely unstoppable, dominating force in dark, atmospheric pop and R&B. Then, Taylor Swift. She's a songwriting juggernaut whose cultural and economic footprint literally shifts the local economies whenever she tours. And finally, Peso Pluma, the absolute vanguard of this massive global explosion we're seeing in regional Mexican music. Putting them side by side illustrates an unprecedented crossover. We're talking about pooling intensely loyal, highly distinct fan bases and entirely different sonic languages. It's a deliberate culture clash designed to maximize global resonance.
So the crucial point is, combining The Weeknd, Taylor Swift, and Peso Pluma isn't just about stacking up massive streaming numbers. Think about the sheer industry mechanics required to unite these three. You're merging entirely different management styles, fiercely protected artistic egos, and recording schedules that are booked years in advance. Honestly, it's the musical equivalent of a massive corporate merger. Each artist commands a completely different sector of the industry, and uniting these specific superpowers means navigating some incredibly complex label politics and creative visions to forge something entirely new.
Moving right along to the next phase, representing three host nations.
3. That is the magic number here. This speculative collaboration exists to represent three very distinct host nations. And this takes us completely out of the realm of a standard commercial release and into something resembling international musical diplomacy. The stakes here are incredibly high. The artists in this scenario aren't just singing for their fans, they're carrying the cultural weight, pride, and identity of entire regions on a global stage. This demands a level of reverence and cultural sensitivity that goes way, way beyond just recording a catchy pop chorus.
And this brilliantly illustrates the vast difference between your standard music collab and a host nation collab. A typical standard collaboration? Well, that's usually driven by chart positions, maximizing stream counts, and seamlessly blending musical styles for a quick, viral hit. But a host nation collaboration carries an immense burden. It's diplomatic as much as it is musical. It requires a delicate, highly strategic balance of cultural homage while somehow still maintaining a massive global appeal. A misstep here isn't just a flop on the charts, it's a failure to properly represent a nation's identity, which is exactly why analyzing this scenario is so fascinating.
All right, let's pull back the curtain. Section 3, Behind the Scenes.
The text explicitly frames this exploration as a documentary-style video, and honestly, this is a really vital creative choice. By using a documentary format, it grounds this larger-than-life, almost impossible speculative idea in a very realistic analytical lens. It actually forces us to imagine the friction. Imagine those intense negotiations in the recording studio, right? Arguing over lyrical translations, compromising on beat production, trying to balance three different languages and musical traditions in a single studio session. The documentary lens treats this hypothetical with the absolute seriousness of a major historical event.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because to pull this off, the narrative has to be structured perfectly.
Step 1 starts by conceptualizing the trio, basically somehow getting these three untouchable titans into the same room and aligning their overarching visions. Then Step 2 dives deep into exploring the collaboration itself, capturing the friction, those sudden magical moments of harmony, and the inevitable, painful creative compromises. All of this builds to Step 3, the final, monumental goal, successfully representing those host nations to the world. Walking through this sequence really shows how a rigorous behind-the-scenes look makes an impossible scenario feel incredibly tangible.
Ultimately, the source demands we focus on the mechanics of how it came together. It doesn't just ask us to imagine the final polished song playing in a stadium, it treats the collaboration with serious documentary rigor. It asks us to consider all the hidden moving parts. We're talking the legal teams drawing up monstrous contracts, the cultural consultants ensuring accurate representation, and the sheer mind-boggling musical production required to honor three distinct host nations simultaneously. It connects back to a reality we often forget. In the real world, alignments like this are phenomenally rare and incredibly difficult to execute. It's the whole shebang.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway for today. Could this speculative host nation collab ever actually become a reality? Given the massive logistics, the impossible scheduling, and the sheer, overwhelming star power of The Weeknd, Taylor Swift, and Peso Pluma, it seems almost completely impossible on paper. But, in today's hyper-interconnected, constantly evolving global music industry, is it really? I'll leave you to ponder that one. Thanks for exploring with us.